Hey people, welcome back to the E3 edition of the Jagged Edge. This is Ian here along with Chris.
What's up, everyone?
Hey, how you doing? As we were saying last week, we wanted to open this show up purely to E3. It is over, it is done. That's another one for the books. But for the record books, well, you be the judge of that. Or we'll just be the judge of that as we go over
Yeah,
it.
we're going to judge everything. We're looking at E3 with our very judgmental, judge eyes, and we're going to talk about everything that we liked and that we didn't like. We're judging. Right now, I'm actually looking at a picture of something from E3, and I am judging it.
Judgmentally, right?
That's right. As
okay.
judgmental as I can.
Good. Stay in that mode, 'cause I'm going to need that. But I need you to save some of the judgment for after the info. Fact of the day, well, or the week, whatever you want to call it. In fact, this is less of a fact, more of a study about what time you wake up. That waking up early for work, well, could quite be literally killing you.
This is going to be interesting because I get crap about my sleeping habits all the time.
About what? Just for waking up early and like going to bed really late, or how do you
I have never been a morning person ever ever since I was a kid, all the way to now. I've never been a morning person. I hate mornings. They suck. They suck.
Well, if anything, this was a study that really comes back closer to our meal timing and more of our circadian rhythms. The idea is a number of scientists believe that our bodies are programmed to run into the circadian rhythm cycles, and changes to that routine caused by work shifts, traveling long distances, horrible jet lag, or anything like that, that disrupts those rhythms and ultimately can lead to higher risk of obesity, diabetes, heart cancer, declines in cognitive ability, etc., etc. The key behind the study theory is that each person doesn't just have a single body clock, but rather a complex network of billions of cellular clocks found throughout their whole body. And the idea behind it, further idea is there's a master clock within a region of the brain called the supraschematic nuclei and many peripheral clocks found elsewhere. So most people, theory is that this master SCN clock is set to the planet's natural cycle of light and dark. This clock should synchronize for all the peripheral clocks in your body by controlling the rhythms of nerve activity, hormone secretion, body temperature, everything like that. And that's how your harmony gets maintained. So it's the belief that when you disrupt, when you shift early for work, when you have something that's throwing you off of your natural rhythm, which you're supposed to be on, that is ultimately leading to a cumulative effect affecting that. Hey, we talk about sleep a lot. When you ever get up early, or if you have a night shift job, I think that's another great example of it. Or if you do like a lot of overseas travel, and for the majority, there's still a lot of things that are unsaid about jet lag, cumulative effect of that and whatnot. But there's been more and more studies about it. Something I just sort of read in passing, and until we're really definitive about it, people got to make a living. You got to live. Sometimes that involves a late shift or something else like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I completely subscribe, but of course this isn't complete just fairy tale nonsense. Of course, I mean a lot of these stuff does exist, your circadian rhythms and everything else. But I personally not fully into it. But it's interesting that this is the kind of discourse that's out there now.
Oh yeah, no, one of the reasons why I stopped working third shifts, because I did it for years, was I had seen and read and heard, multiple studies about the horrible effects it can have on your body, especially in the long term. Yeah,
and more of all too, I'm curious, when you were on those schedules, would you say your eating habits changed a lot or not, or did you maintain some kind of balance?
No, yeah, it's the same. I mean, if I slept in so late that I didn't eat breakfast, I usually just had a one meal later on after dinner. But lunch and dinner was always the same.
Yeah. I always found maybe one thing that attributes to it is whenever I'd be sort of off clock or off kilter, I know when I was in school, I played real late a couple nights a week with my band. And I would always change the way I ate as a result of that, and I did notice a few health shifts. I had a little bit of extra weight to lose once I graduated. It was never anything that led, I think, out of control or whatever else, but I noticed it. So, what it is.
Hey, there wasn't really anything fun about this topic this week.
No, hey, we went from eating ants to something that all of us deal with and will potentially don't deal with depending on how you actually sleep pattern. So, hey, I can't have heroin cough syrup all the time. Can I say?
No, we all wish we could though.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, there it is. Pay attention to your sleeping schedule. Go to bed, say your prayers. What is it? Eat your vitamins, all that stuff.
Just take some magnesium or something. Maybe that'll help you too.
Yeah, take your Geritol. Ian's info minute. All right. Let's just ditch that and move on.
E3 2017.
E3.
The one that the first thing that comes to mind here is I was watching this each day. I didn't tune in depth for each and every stream.
What does E3 stand for?
Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Is it Entertainment Expo? I'm thinking over here, Electronic Arts Expo. I'm like, well, that's not an E.
What, you want EAE? I mean...
No.
Okay.
Oh, it's good. I was just curious. All right, Electronic Entertainment Expo.
That wasn't very judgmental of you. So
2017.
All right.
This one was shit. How's that?
Much better. In retrospect, looking back, it seemed as the years have gone on, the live stream coverage, the way the press coverage is done for E3 has shifted and changed. I remember earlier E3s and E3s in the 90s when you would have the news about a new console or new games, and they'd sort of just be presented on an as-is basis. There wasn't as much of a fanfare about it. It was more of a hardware, more of a tech convention. Hey, here it is. Here's the games. Here's the news. Take it. That's it.
God forbid. No, now they're back to the garbage that they had, 10 or so years ago?
Yeah, and there's an element of showmanship here, or in the style that.
Well, there's an attempt at showmanship here.
The way different groups and studios, present, whether that's herding people into a kind of small stadium area, a la EA, the others, or if that's just more of a sort of private conference with some of the smaller groups or indie games. Still, there's an odd fanfare. Sometimes it's really awkward. Other times it sort of works, but on the whole, it's felt more awkward than anything.
Yes. Now, did people have to pay to get access to this now? Because it used to be free. People used to be able to just go. In fact, then they'd collect all the crappy swag, and then that was it. They had to pay. They'd get tickets this time, right?
Yeah, it would depend. It would depend on the level of your pass. Like I know, for ones like EA, you were ticketed, and there were certain. You couldn't go into the arena unless you could prove you ticketed or you'd had your pass or whatever.
Press credentials and stuff, or depending on. Okay.
Yeah, I'd assume
your average Joe walking the door probably had to pay some money.
Yeah.
There you go. Pay to have them throw their early beta and alpha production games at you to advertise them to you 2 years before they come out. Hey, you know what? If people paid and they did, all right, more power to them.
Yeah, hey.
But I'm over here being Mr. Judgy McJudge face, so...
Some of these have catering. Beer and stuff like that if you want to grab something to eat or something to drink during the show. I think that's included. The whole thing.
I'm making the commentary, and I think we talked about this some months ago when you had announced that they said that this was going to be open to the public again. I'm not a fan of that. I like when they don't come in. I think it takes the focus off of what they should be talking about, which is the games or what companies are doing to make better games or what direction they're going in. That's what I think they should be about. This is a demonstration for fans, yes, and obviously they can watch the streams, but also for developers, for investors, for ideas, for creativity, not we got to entertain the base.
Right.
I don't think it should be about that. It's like how they do all this stuff now, which I saw time and time again during this. I'm sorry, I'm going on a whole rant now. Here we go, people. All right, so this drives me nuts. Gaming companies have been doing this for at least a decade or so, probably even more, where they make a beta some prize to play the beta version of a game. That infuriates me. I hate that. It's like, oh my god, I got into the beta. You know what you're supposed to do with that beta? Well, now you're supposed to shove it up your ass. But what you were supposed to do with that beta is you were supposed to go around trying to break the game. But they don't. They just play it.
Right.
They just play it. And there's a certain amount of usefulness to that as well. But you're supposed to also go around and try to break the game.
And it's, the idea of a beta pass being treated as more of a form of prestige than a, hey, go test this.
Yeah, it's like, hey, come play our crappy version of this game.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I hate that stuff.
Beta access, man, that goes back, like, for anyone playing really, I remember this from, like, really early MMOs, like, the old ones, like Ragnarok Online. A lot of people made a big deal out about playing the beta of that, testing it, but still it was more focused on the test features.
It wasn't a prize.
Right. That's the whole point.
Anyway, sorry about that rant.
No. I think that sort of brings us full circle to what we have with the way press corps kind of present, or the way streamers present, and the show elements, the showmanship elements, and all that other stuff we had. There were some weird things that came out. We were talking before the show. We had an indie developer had the whole blood skit, just the whole to do, and I think there's an attempt at events like this where there's so much high volume, there's so much high traffic, there's so many high-end games that it's hey, let's laugh at ourselves, let's make some satire, let's try to ease the tension a bit, and try to cut through that with a knife. That doesn't always work.
That's where the technology is right now. This is ebbed and flowed for years, going back decades. Right now, that's the swing we're in, where technology is at a point where to create content, at least was, and still is, but definitely was a few years ago, really expensive. And a lot of mom and pop companies had to get crushed with a rock, and people had to go to different companies. That's just the way that it goes. I mean, it's awesome if you can survive such ebbs and flows, but that's the way it goes. And right now, it's all about the giant companies. Yeah. Thankfully, there's an outlet for smaller indie companies and such to do things, but to create those huge, awesome games that are to be competitive on that level, you've got to have a lot of money behind you right now, and that will change.
It will,
as it always
is. Specifically, I think it's good to put a spotlight, talking a little bit about indies on conferences. That was Devolver Digital, and their conference that had that weird blood satire, but they're also the ones behind some pretty cool stuff that's going to be coming out later. We talked a number of shows ago about Runner. That's that sort of Blade Runner-esque dystopian future game where you have the highest ranking members of society sort of living in like these skyscrapers. Everybody else is really sort of exists in like a neo slum. But it's about railing against the power. There was a trailer for it that was put out some time ago. I'll show it to you again. We had time, Chris. But yeah, I mean, there's still really cool ideas, out there, and then sometimes it's the most off the wall ones that make it. I was at PAX East 2016 when I first saw them showcase Broforce, and that's like you're talking a little bit about that. That's like the 2D Contra style game with like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Rambo and all kinds of stupid stuff, but it's fun. End of the day, it's fun.
All right.
Hopefully it's where they keep it.
And we were talking about Cuphead. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah,
as far as indie games. Cuphead.
September, was that 29th?
I think that's what you said, yeah.
Yeah, we might even have a show about that near when it comes. But Yeah.
But yeah, so we're here talking about E3 though. We're here to bask in the wasteful millions of dollars.
And no matter which stream you were watching, or if you even tuned in or anything at all, there's always some kind of news that comes out of E3. Just kind of in this portion of it, my overall impression personally, this E3, I wasn't blown out of my socks, out of my seat. In the same hand, I didn't feel the whole thing was just a giant letdown and disappointment. I'm kind of neutral coming out of it. There are a lot of things we knew about. There were a lot of remakes announced. And a couple of people had some new tricks in their hat that we hadn't looked into before. But I'm honestly, I'm still pretty cool coming out of it. So
I knew that there was going to be a couple big announcements with this one. I think the one that the majority would say that they were waiting to hear about was the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
Previously Xbox Scorpio. I knew I was going to hear all the details about Battlefront 2, which I pleasantly got.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a list of my top 5 favorite things from E3, and then I've got a list of a few other things that are basically my bitch list.
Well, bring them up as we sort of jump categories here. I want to jump right into those. First of all, with Microsoft Xbox, we had the down to the name of the reveal, the Xbox One X.
The Xbox One X, creativity at its best, folks. I mean, nothing says creativity like that name. Nothing says creative, fun, original games like the Xbox One X.
This is going to be priced at $500, I think, on the nose. Available on November 7th.
$499.99.
You're gonna be that guy.
Well, you said on the nose.
That's so judgmental, though. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Just for this show. Just for this once.
$500 for the Xbox One X. Now it will be the most powerful console out. I mean, we covered that a few months ago. We talked about this when the specs were released for this. It will be the most powerful home console system out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even an understatement. I mean, with the 6 teraflop GPU and over 12 gigs of DDR5 RAM.
Well, no. I mean, it's way above anything else besides the PS4 Pro. PS4 Pro is comparable. It is not as powerful, but it is a comparable system. And it looks like it is going to deliver everything that it is as far as where games are. And that makes sense because most of these companies make games for not all of it at this point, both platforms. Or I should say 3, we use PC as well. Yeah. But it's easy to make for PC, so...
Yeah, and the larger question is, and this reminds me of something raised all the way back, at least in PlayStation 3. Remember when we first started seeing footage of like Killzone, and there was this advertisement of, hey, this is what in-game graphics are. So naturally this bar is set for now, this is what the level of this entire experience is, and when we actually got the final deliverable, not quite. There were some things that were specifically show prepped. You had some pre-rendered things and whatnot, but here you go. This is another jump in power, and I almost feel like this is deja vu. One of the big previews.
It feels like that,
right?
That's because they're making a similar mistake. It's too expensive.
Yeah. Well, that end, the way some of the stuff's getting advertised. The big announcements with this was BioWare's next big game, following Mass Effect series, Anthem. And, again, it's just this super grand scale sci-fi trip, but I'm raising that same question. Again, we got all this power, all this use behind a console, but can you really maintain that level of content in game? I don't know yet. Still skeptical.
Well, they made the promise again too that every game they've ever come out with in the past will look better on this thing, which they still can't promise. But
right.
All right, whatever. I mean, all the more reason not to buy anything that you're saying, literally. So I mean, just about once a year, usually around E3, I will look at the games that are coming out. Always after E3, or sometime shortly after, maybe a while after. Like, well, what's coming out? What am I gonna like?
Right.
And I always look at Xbox, even though I don't have one. And I look and see what they have, and I did that this year. And there's a couple on there. They're gonna come up. I have no reason to buy an Xbox. I still have no reason because every game that's going to come out on Xbox is also going to either come out on the PS4 or the PC.
Yeah, overall, how have you as a gamer dealt with this age of, I don't know if you want to call it less exclusives, I suppose you could, but how have you dealt with that? Yeah, the age of cross-platforming. I mean, is that...
I found that most of my games are still exclusives, even though there's not as many as there used to be, which is, I think, a trend that's going to be changing. In fact, now that being said, there's a couple games on here on my list that are exclusives.
Right.
But yeah, then I'll go with number 4. Number 4 on my list, Anthem. I mean, I think it's coming out on the Xbox first.
Right.
Or maybe the Xbox and PC. But it's coming on the PC. In a game that RPG heavy, the game with the kind of mechanics like that, I don't want to play with a controller. I want to play with a keyboard and mouse. Not to mention, it's going to look better on my freaking computer than it's ever going to look on your Xbox One X.
Absolutely.
It's going to run better. It's going to look better. So why? Why am I buying this for the Xbox? You know, what's starting to tick me off about this, and PlayStation's doing the same thing right now too, is that they're not showing how these games look on their average consoles, which are by far and away the ones that the majority of the people will own. They definitely, I mean, the percentage of people who own Pros versus PS4s right now is inferior, minuscule.
Right.
But I mean, it's going to stay that way. This whole gen is going to be done, and the majority will still be your average PS4 and your average Xbox One.
Yeah.
It does bug me that they don't, during these demonstrations, don't show how these games are going to look, not on their top of the line.
Right.
Or at least they don't release it. I couldn't find some of that. I can even understand maybe don't show it at the conference, but release that footage. Let people see it.
Yeah, some honest gameplay at the very least, or just how is this running? Like, how does this look running just normal? I know even some other, large scale games. That's something I really, really appreciate, even in like earlier stages of development. I mean, I look at Square. I'll talk about them later, of course. They'll take 10 plus years to release something. At least you get some gameplay footage out, some honest gameplay footage.
Yeah. Well, so not to get off the topic here. So Anthem, in the Xbox One X, I won't be buying one. Most of what we saw, at least most of what I saw for this E3, was stuff coming out not even this year, but next year.
Yeah.
Not entirely, but for the most part. So it doesn't look like I'll be buying anything for an Xbox until 2019, if at all.
Right.
So I don't have a reason to buy one. That being said, $500 is too much. That's ridiculous. You are in the corner. Your Xbox, your Microsoft, you're in the corner. You are losing this fight. We're already halfway through the fight. There's no way that you can get enough points to win this at this point. The only way you're winning this fight is a knockout, and you're not going to get it coming out with the console that's more expensive than everyone else. When your sales are as low as they are, that's ridiculous. It's just dumb. And I know they know better than that, which is what pisses me off about it. Their original Xbox, they lost on every console. Every single console they sold, they lost money on, so they could be competitive in the next gen, and that worked for them. And so I know they know how to do this stuff. It's amazing to me that they would make the decision that they did.
I think this is the part where there's this decision to try to decide how to gain ground, how to go farther. I'd say Microsoft isn't as just completely beleaguered. They've at least managed to make a competitive show with the Xbox and maintain some sort of base behind it. But the question is, going forward from there, it's interesting. Last year, Sony was arguably the winner, the two, with a lot of their reveals and announcements. But, I don't think, playing advocate a bit here, on Sony's side, I don't think there was anything necessarily decisive to write Microsoft off.
I would disagree with you, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But I think that's sort of where it stands. Yes, there's a lot of prep for 2018, for 2019. I'm in the same boat that I'm really not persuaded to pick up any new console. I'm really okay with PC, PS4, and the rest of what I have at the moment. But I do not see myself dropping 500. Xbox One.
I mean, I'm considering getting a PS4 Pro. I'm thinking about it. I mean,
Right.
I've got a lot of gaming to do the rest of this year on my console. I'll take a look and see how these things are going to look. It's been out long enough now where I can get some good comparisons as far as the PS4 versus the Pro version. I may get a Pro.
Right.
Just because I'm a big Sony fan, and it looks like the exclusive games are going to continue. That's the side I'm on right now. And if I can upgrade that system and it doesn't hurt me too much in my pocketbook, then why not?
Right.
That being said, I want to make a note here on something. Sony, for about a week, I think it was 9 days, released a gold version of the PS4, a slim version, a 1 terabyte version. It was $250. That I believe Microsoft countered by releasing their average Xbox One for $200 for a limited time, which I think is normally $250. That's amazing stuff right there. That's just awesome.
Yeah, and
I love that.
Cross your fingers, you find another promotional like that again. That's man.
Well, I'm sure the PS4 will be $250 by around Christmas time and probably stay that way.
Right.
But even an Xbox for $200, that's pretty fucking good.
Right.
That's almost low enough where I'll be like, yeah, I'll just pick one up then and probably never use the damn thing. But well, why would I? And I don't say that as a jab. Well, I guess I do say it as a jab, but at the same time, I mean it seriously. Xbox, you got nothing for me. You've got nothing for me. Anything you've got, I can go get on the PC or my PS4. I have no reason to even look at you.
Question: did you ever own an original Xbox or
No.
360 or anything? Either you didn't.
I almost got a 360.
Okay. I think some of those who had some of the older consoles were probably more excited about the backwards compatibility stuff, for example, than be
Okay, so there you go. And yeah, that does disqualify me, and that is one thing where they are definitely way above. I was hoping to find out some backwards compatibility stuff from Sony.
Same.
No.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Sony.
Which is a surprise, and I want to jump. I want to jump right into that since we're so close to that topic.
Everyone else is showing how popular that is,
right? And snapshot that a minute. Bear in mind, years back when PlayStation 2 came out, it was the undisputable winner of that generation. The backwards compatibility, and moreover, enhancing that backwards compatibility was one of the hallmark coolest things about the PS2 that people loved across the board. And it strikes me as odd. I get when you're moving from a medium, like we're moving away from cartridges, we're moving to disc. But what I have a harder time understanding is using the same tech now, e.g. Blu-ray. And you're going Blu-ray to Blu-ray. This isn't, jumping from Game Boy cartridge to whatever else, but yet you can't, there's no going back. There's all this weirdness. And then even the things that are re-released retroactively, it's just in a DLC style. And
I can understand some of this to an extent. Some of this has to do with how the games are run, and they were so specific for the console that in some cases, putting that game in a different console would make it look weird, or maybe not even work at all. But that's a minority of them. That's not the majority. And there's really no good reason for it. And that's stuff that you can patch. That's hardware issue that can be solved by software. And they can fix that stuff. I mean, that is eventually what Microsoft's going to do with this promise that they've made that every game will look better on the Xbox One X.
Right.
You can fix that with software in 99% of all cases. And again, that's something Sony could be doing. It is disappointing to me.
Yeah.
That being said, it is really popular. It's nice to be able to just have everything in as few boxes as you want.
Right.
But if you really want to play some of those older games, you can go to emulators, or you can go to your old console.
Easily.
But it's still dumb of Sony.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at some of Sony's answers to a couple of the big releases you had Microsoft from Xbox. Now, the way I'm kind of framing this is Xbox is to Anthem and is to Crackdown 3, as Sony is to Shadow of the Colossus, HD Remake, Spider-Man. Heck, I could go on and on, but I'm going to slow down there a little bit because I know you're a big Shadow of the Colossus fan.
Well, so yeah, you've brought up Shadow of the Colossus a couple times since we've been talking about E3 now, and I've said nothing. I've intentionally ignored your terms. The best way that I could bring up Shadow of the Colossus, one of my favorite games ever, one of the best games ever made, period. It is the beginning, the middle, and the end of the discussion of video games being art. You need to look nowhere else. I had no idea they were announcing this. When I saw it on the screen, I knew it immediately. When I saw that giant building in the background, I took my wallet out of my pocket and I threw it at my screen.
Good
Take
reaction.
my money.
Good reaction.
Take my money. Give it to me. That is number one on my list of my top 5 things from this E3 was the announcement of Shadow of the Colossus something.
Yeah.
There's almost no information about this.
Right.
Now, for those of you who are fans of Shadow of the Colossus, it's a great game. You already know about it. You did eventually play it, didn't you, Ian?
I did. Cleric actually got me into it.
Yeah. Awesome game. I mean, if you're a huge fan, if you're a nut, then you know that there are still all kinds of blogs and vlogs and just people inspecting every little nook and cranny of that game. We've got so much information about what was put into the game versus what wasn't put into the game and decisions as to why. Part of that is there's a whole lot of Colossus that just didn't make it into the game.
Yeah.
And now they remade this game once already. They remastered it, I should say. They remastered it from the PS2 version to a PS3 version. They released it with ICO on the PS3. And, of course, we were supposed to get The Last Guardian later on that same console, which we didn't get until 6 months ago. So they've already remastered this. So I find it hard to believe that they would remaster again. But even if that is all this is, and this is just a prettier version of that beautiful game, I will still spend $60 to get it.
Absolutely. I think there was a brief Silicon Era interview with devs for this Yoshida. In fact, he was saying, hey, the game content we're looking at is the same as the original, but all the assets being built from the ground up, all that's being made, making sure to use bring that tech into upgraded PS4 era.
Right.
So
it's worth it. It's worth it.
It is. It is. This a few shows ago I mentioned that we really seem to be in the age of remake in a lot of ways. This concept of gaming as art, really tracing our footsteps back, seeing what made these titles prolific, what made these so big, and it's due. Some people, I think that a knee-jerk reaction to something like this is, just cashing back in on something old or whatever else. No, it's deserved. I think when you have cases where you've created something that you've exceeded what's possible to do at the time, what you can't fully express on that medium, I think it's pretty much owed at that point to go back and to create it in a version where you can. That's what we have here.
It was so. I mean, yeah, I'm a nut for Shadow of the Colossus, Japan Studio, the whole Ico trilogy. I mean, it's in my heart. It's in my heart. It's right there with Star Wars and Transformers. But even then, it's got its own little table over there in the corner. It gets to hang out all by itself and just be special in that way. And I couldn't believe that when I saw that. I mean, especially because Japan Studio shouldn't exist. They went through so much with The Last Guardian. They changed a lot of hands as far as staff was concerned. And to see them do this is beautiful. I don't care if it's a cash grab. You got it. You got it. You got my cash. I'm fine with that. Do it again. Do it again in the next one.
Yeah,
I'll pay for it again, as long as you don't ruin the gameplay. I really do hope that a lot of things that they cut out of the game do make it. Even if it's just a few more Colossus. Even if it's just some of the original plans that they had. I really do hope so, because there was a lot of stuff that got cut, which happens with all games. Well, with most games. But there was a lot of cool things that were cut, and I really hope that we get to at least 6 more. I'm hoping for 6 more Colossus. Just give me 6.
Fair.
There was, I think they originally had 32.
Yeah.
Give me 6 more.
Cool stuff. It's one to look out. On action games, though, along that line, I mentioned Spider-Man going into this. I think some of the other big announcements from Sony it was pretty much Spider-Man, Uncharted, and God God of War. I've never followed Uncharted a whole lot, and I play the original Gods of War. I never got into them too far. I'm more of a Devil May Cry fan.
I'm not a big fan of either.
Yeah, God of War.
I've had a couple God of War games, and they're interesting. But that kind of platformer and platform action, I don't get into much. It's really kind of weird because I'm gonna segue this right now. Because Spider-Man, which is created by Insomniac Games, they actually are the only people that make the only platformer I'll usually touch.
Yeah,
which is Ratchet and Clank. Spider-Man number 2 on my list for top 5 for E3. This is one of the ones where I knew we were going to get more information. I've been waiting for new information. In fact, I think the last thing we ever got that was substantial was from the last E3.
Yeah, it was. And what's special about this one? This is one thing I like, and actually I can give some kudos to putting new energy into a Spider-Man game. Not only we're about to get a really awesome film next month that we know everything about already. But
weeks away now.
Weeks, not far at all. Just look at this a minute. We've had a lot of Spider-Man games. I played the majority of them. The best one I remember was Maximum Carnage back in Super Nintendo. I adore that game.
I have not.
Super fun. Spider-Man and Venom. You can select who you want to play as, but we've had this free roaming element. I remember how big a hit Spider-Man was on PS1 when they first started to really introduce this idea. Hey, here you go, New York City, free roam, web sling, have fun, do your thing. Super fun game, and I'm happy that hasn't lost its luster, and I guess I'm happy to see this much energy generated for a Spidey release like this. It just shows keep really fun paced action. Here you go. I'm gonna preface this by saying, to me, this felt like the Arkham Asylum of Spider-Man games. Just looking at it.
A lot of people have even actually seen video comparison of footage that came from this E3 and some Arkham Asylum footage. Kind of funny how similar some of that was, but it was only for about 30 seconds or so. I think you have to be careful of that because what I'm not seeing for the Spider-Man game so far is a lot on story. Right, and we're seeing some on story. And I'm not going to say it's no story, but it's not looking heavy on story so far. And the Arkham games is all about that story.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if that's the fact that they're superhero games and they're basically the two main icons for Marvel and DC. I think that draws a comparison, but I think that's where they begin and end right now.
Yeah, which is fair. I'm thinking back to the Spider-Man game, I believe on PS1 in 2000. Sometimes there's some liberties that are taken with these, and I'm wondering if this game's going to go that direction too. I say it because back in the 2000 title, there was this, spoilers coming, there's this crazy in-boss that was a fusion of Carnage and Dr. Octopus. It was like two parts, made for an awesome scene, made for an awesome escape scene, and everything else. Really, really good. But of course, we didn't have anything like that in films, and I could have missed something, but I didn't see that in the comics come up either. So, in a way, this almost, Spidey games always feel like sort of like a 2.5 universe to me. It's room where you have the character, you have that universe that we built, but you have sort of a playground to expand things where you wouldn't normally go in the comics, or you probably wouldn't go in the films as well. It's its own playground.
Yeah, I think that's why we have the Spider-Man suit that we do, which is different from anything we've seen anywhere else in the past or present. I think that's why they're doing that. I think they are building their own kind of universe right now, or offshoot of somewhere else, or maybe a combination of various universes. I think we're getting something new.
Which, hey, I welcome it. So
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, time will tell on that. But
this looks like an amazingly fun game to play.
Yeah. I've always adored the free roaming elements anyway, and this will just take it to the umpteenth extreme. Honestly, I would play this over Anthem even. As awesome as that looks, and besides, I still have some lingering questions out there. This is probably where my hype lies.
One of the things I look for, I've been a gamer ever since I can remember, starting from the early Atari 2600. And one of the things that I always look for, just that, I'll be watching these trailers and gameplay trailers and such, and, do I get that tickle?
Yeah.
That fun tickle. It almost feels inappropriate, but it's not. And Spider-Man gave me that tickle.
Okay, so you're highlighting. You got the tickle. You got
I got the tickle. I actually said to myself in my head, I said, self in my head, this looks like a goddamn fun game to play. I literally did say that to myself though. I was like, gosh, this looks like a lot of fun.
So
and there was only one other game that gave me that little tickle.
Fair enough. If you got that from seeing this and seeing part of Sony's conference, what is it from what you saw at E3 that puts Sony over the top over Microsoft as far as the press announcement?
Because this is their game.
Right.
That almost seems like you set me up as an ad for that, which is awesome. Yeah, this is a PS4 exclusive. These last two games we've been talking about, this and Shadow of the Colossus, PS4 exclusive. You know, it's kind of funny because I know we're in a world now where there's a lot less exclusives than there used to be, but I think this is the most exclusive heavy I've ever been for a console. Is this current one? Yeah. I think all but one of my games are exclusive for Sony for the PS4.
It's interesting. You know, the thing I'm seeing a lot of Xbox enthusiasts rave about is, well, besides hardware, et cetera, is the legacy options, the cross compatibility, the stuff you'll be able to do with Microsoft Store and everything. Whereas Sony, obviously, we still got the game focus. And it's funny because I see Microsoft trying to do that. You know, really focus on the hardware, really focus on the games, but I don't think they're quite there in the same way Sony is. But you know, that's sort of put them in two different pegs. I think there's a crowd that's really excited about, hey, we could have better support options on this console, whereas Sony crowd is, hey, our games are way more hype coming out here. So I wonder, Spidey wasn't this wasn't the Xbox killer for the show, nor was Uncharted or some of the others announced, but definitely the trend that they're going with exclusives, even if you have temp exclusives, e.g. play it on PS4 first, and then it expands to something else, I think it's pretty...
I'm sorry, so what's that again?
No, even if you're for the exclusives, some of the exclusives happening on PS4, FF7 Remake's going to be a perfect example. Play it first on PS4, then later it's going to expand to another console. Even then, I think as far as exciting IPs, Sony seems to have a really good lock and it's out the gate, and I think that's just going to do nothing but strengthen them going forward.
Well, so okay, so you know we skipped by this. I didn't want to skip by this, but we naturally just kind of flowed past this. We brought it up a couple times. Going back to the Microsoft conference, though, Anthem.
Yeah.
This is number 4 on my list.
Yeah,
I was not looking for this game. I was not looking for a game like this, but this game gave me a special, different kind of tickle.
Yeah, you know, we've been talking about this as we're sort of doing our comparison here, but you know this is going to have great support behind it. The team that's done Mass Effect and finally led through that last game. Has
do not even just say Mass Effect like the Knights of the Old Republic didn't happen. Do not say that. That brings more credibility to me than Mass Effect.
No, for real. I think that's just the latest, most freshest thing in my mind, especially people in my circle, things they talk about. But no, I
should be talking about other stuff.
It starts with the K, right? No.
Right.
But yeah, there should be some AAA support behind this. I'm still wondering graphically if everything can stand up to where the hype is. But regardless, this could be really fun. You know, I didn't get into Destiny a whole lot. I remember all the hype generated that coming out. But I don't think this is going to be handled quite the same way.
No, I looked at Destiny a lot too. Now, you right now play an MMO.
I do.
I am retired from an MMO. I used to play World of Warcraft. For years and years. Now, this isn't quite the same thing, which is why I'm peaked to it. But this also looks like a big time sink, which is okay depending on how they go about it. But Destiny did as well. And eventually, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to skip Destiny. I got a feeling that down the line, there'll be better versions of this kind of action RPG. Well, here we are.
Yeah.
here's the thing, and this is going to be my comparison to our old favorite game, Armored Core.
Yep.
So, besides the fact that in Anthem your javelins are basically, they look like different versions of Iron Man suits,
Right.
which is fine. This is basically Armored Core, dude.
Yeah.
It not only that, but it's everything we always wanted from it.
Yeah.
The suits are a bit different, but some of the details are obviously a little bit different. But you have in this case, not a post-apocalyptic world, but I believe a world where humans have been put on a different planet, and they have to stay within the wall to survive. Otherwise, if they leave, they have to leave in these suits.
Right.
And you're mercenaries, and there's customization, and there's different, there's lights and middles and heavies, and there's different weaponry and customization up the ass. Dude, this in every way feels like what Armored Core always should have been.
You know what? I love it. If you stop reading my mind. If you were going to make the mention, that was one of the exact notes I was going to bring up. The scene that really brought that to life was there's this dropship high up in the air, and you have a squad of javelins deploying. And, right there, that instantly put me in the mind of the mission from Armored Core 2, where it's you and like 50 other Ravens go to attack the STAI starship. And it's like suborbital, but it's like super high up, but everybody deploys from dropships. There's this huge assault, this huge open area, and for the time, PS2, there's only so much you could do, but that concept I thought was so awesome, while having full customization and everything still within it. It looks like what you can do with Anthem kind of goes along these lines. Cool.
Yeah, I think maybe finally somebody was able to get the right amount of information into a decision maker's ear and make a game like this.
Yeah.
This is where, in large part, so far by the looks of it, this is where in large part From Software should have been going.
Yeah.
But didn't go. They tried, they failed, but they tried to some extent with Generation 5. Sitting there for 2 hours waiting for a match to start was ridiculous.
No, it's not acceptable. But I think it shows a leap without necessarily having the infrastructure to support it. I think BioWare can afford to take this kind of step because they're seasoned, they're veterans at this. They're going to take it to 110%. We know that. Whereas with From, I think it likely would have been better to sort of build this more like ground up. Keep heading towards that point. Don't try to do it all at once.
Right.
Or more about completely overestimate your base. So,
but I was blown away by Anthem.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of fun. It's one of those few companies where I'll trust them. I haven't played a BioWare game in a long time, but my last couple outings with BioWare were really good.
Good.
Besides that, the other games that they've come out with, I've heard nothing but great things. But not nothing, but mostly great things about it. Mass Effect 3, there was a bit of complaining, but these look, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my eye on it. I'm not sold on this.
Same.
But the action RPG part of me, the guy who, certain parts of me that loved the MMO and in building up a character and developing that character and the customization, the potential is there. And I hadn't felt like that watching the game. I felt it a little bit during Destiny, but it just didn't quite sell me. And I think I was right not to get into it. This is really looking good, though. Definitely going to keep my eye on Anthem. I will be getting this not even for the PS4. This will go straight for PC for me.
Fair enough. We're talking big games. I want to take a quick look at Nintendo and VR too. Want to pay in there too.
Why you got to poke that bear, Ian?
I got to do it. I got to do
bear
it.
Was sleeping.
He's awake. He's got one eye open. He's awake.
He's trying to sleep though. I'm having a good time here talking about fun games, and you got to bring up Nintendo like they have fun games.
I mean, hey, I don't know where you sat with the Metroid series growing up, but man, I got some serious feels about this.
Annoyed. I was annoyed with the Metroid series mostly growing up. Because I remember I was young, man. Metroid, I was young, and I got lost all the time. I didn't understand what was going on. Sometimes I turned into the roly thing, and sometimes not. I was too young to get my hands on the first Metroid. I was so annoyed with that game that I had dabbled with others, but it was like, you know what? I have a lot of respect for the series, but not my deal.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But arguably, what's talked about things coming out of Nintendo here, two back-to-back Metroid announcements we got. The Metroid Prime 4 for Switch. This is going to be a sequel to the previous FPS, Metroid Prime 3. And also Metroid Samus Returns for 3DS, remake of Metroid 2. The irony is, one of the biggest Metroids in terms of story, in terms of tech for the time and execution, this is on Game Boys. There wasn't a whole lot they could do. But now, with this full-fledged and set to go out in a current portable console, it's pretty exciting. Not exciting enough to make me buy a 3DS. That I'll admit. But still really cool.
Yeah.
I played the first Metroid Prime. And it was fun. I did not, I just played it elsewhere, but I didn't have a personal GameCube. So picking up the rest of the Metroid Prime series was something that I pursued. But it shows, I mean, it's something Nintendo folks have been waiting for a long time. We haven't had a Metroid announcement outside of Super Smash Brothers. I don't know how long. So great. I think that on top of leveraging their IPs like Yoshi, there was another Yoshi game announced. I don't care if folks say, hey, I think back to Yoshi's Island and Super Nintendo, that game was fun as I don't know what. And the one they floated here, the cardboard Yoshi, it's kind of like a 2.5D playstyle, looks fun.
What's that game that came out for the I think it was the PS3 with the you could play 4 players with the little dolls with the little bears and stuff.
Yeah, that was
I just had it in my head. Anyways, that Yoshi game and that Kirby game look just like that.
They do, and they even had a lot of like different characters you get for that, or like DLCs. They made a whole deal out of that.
That game was a lot of fun. I actually did buy it. Played it a few times with some of the students that were living at my building. I knew it would be a fun group game to play, so I got it real cheap. It's a lot of fun. Except for you, we always had that one guy who just didn't want to work with everyone else.
Yeah.
You do understand this is a 4-player co-op, right? We're playing as a group. He's like, come on, let's go. And then he gets pissed if we left him behind.
Oh, no, of course. That's how it's got to work, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't have a lot good to say for Nintendo. Super Mario Odyssey looked pretty neat.
Yep.
I mean, if you like Kirby, if you like Yoshi, if you like Mario, you probably loved it. And Metroid, you probably loved this.
Right.
Go for it. I got nothing here. I mean, these games looked fun, but I know I'm not going to play them.
Right.
So.
Right. Fair enough.
I just, I basically watched the Nintendo thing to see if there's anything I need to scour them.
Yeah. I mean, because the rest of the browbeatings weren't enough. We need more.
You live to see another day, Nintendo.
This time, I'd say they managed to make it passably. With the last section, unexpectedly, mind you, being the bear that we don't like to talk about, VR. It's weird. This is one that I think, I know me personally, I've been waiting for a death knell for. I never really thought this would catch really well, but
it's not.
And I can't say it is right now, but it is still in this super experimental phase, especially the fact that you have movie companies coming over, movie stars coming over to do weird experiments or their ideas.
All right, come on. Elijah Woods was a movie star like 15 years ago.
He's never gonna outlive Lord of the Rings. Come on, that's a role that gets solidified like Keanu Reeves is to Neo. Come on now.
Yeah, no, and I love his work. That was good stuff. But yeah, all right. Just be careful when you say movie stars production studio. It's not. This isn't Brad Pitt over here with Plan B. All right, it's not the same thing.
No, he's not. No, I agree, and he's only 36, man. He's still got time.
Is he only 36?
He's only 36.
What was he, like 10 when he did Lord of the Rings? I figured he was at least an adult.
Oh man!
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's a little bit more impressed now. Still, VR's.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going anywhere
No,
in one direction or the other.
no, that's fair. VR is all over the place right now. It's not really committed to any one thing. If anything, you have a lot of ports. There's like Doom VR and all
Right.
the FPSs, and it right now it's more like, hey, remember that game you played on console? Well, if you want to see it in 3D, here you go. It's kind of like going to the movie
Right.
and getting 3D glasses. So it doesn't have enough of its own backbone to support
Right.
anything right now. This whole project Elijah is working with Ubisoft on. It's called Transference. It's themed around following a protagonist destructive obsession with what we don't know. It's supposed to be a horror immersion experience of viewing the world through like an uploaded consciousness, and it's supposed to trip you out. This is experimentation theater, man, and historically, this kind of stuff has gone nowhere. I'm not baking anything on this. I was really surprised that it still had the entry it did. I'm not going to kill it. The bat. Let's see what happens. But I don't see where VR itself is a platform.
I hope we continue to see what we saw this year. We saw some big first person shooter games or some big first person games make a port over to VR. And hey, if that's cheap enough for them to do it and profitable enough for them to continue it, go for it. That sounds like a great idea. Maybe we'll see a couple original games come out. Besides that, this isn't going anywhere.
Right.
The draw for VR has come and gone. And
Right.
we talked about that extensively.
Yeah. It'll be what it'll be. But I'm just thinking of this overall trend today of larger world games or expanding that. Whether you're trying to expand that immersively through VR or you're trying to take experience people are used to and just really expand that. That's really been the theme. Anthem seems like such a large game. Spider-Man seems like such a large game. And there's still others out there too. A couple other games I'm thinking about. I don't know if you're ever into the Monster Hunter series, but
I saw this.
Monster Hunter World got it. That's got a big following behind it. Like,
Yeah.
I've never played them. I can't help but hear about this. A lot of some people I play FF14 with talk about this one, and it's sort of a big,
there it is.
sort of a big step for. Yeah. All right.
It's got that style. It's got that style. Look, I've got some friends that are big Final Fantasy fans and big anime fans. They love some of the Monster Hunter games.
Right.
This game gets the hype because it looks like all the other games that get hyped.
Right.
I've never played one of them. I've heard, to its credit, some of them are really good, but I saw this and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought I'd see from a Monster Hunter game, and I'm as uninterested right now as I was in the past.
What about Wolfenstein 2 or The Evil Within?
Wolfenstein 2 is number 5 on my list.
Ah, there it is.
I wasn't even looking for this.
Yeah.
But honestly, the story to this and the trailer that I saw drew me in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is awesome. What the hell is this?
Yeah, for sure.
I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I loved every Nazi redneck garbage bit of it. It was great. It was great. I got a family. I'm bringing into this world. There you go. He's not trying to save the world. He's trying to save his and his own and his kids. No, but hey, it's great. That's kind of what the Wolfenstein games have been about.
Always.
Yeah. So it was fun. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick this one up like some of these other on the list, but this one definitely, I again had no idea this was a thing.
Yeah.
And now it's on my radar for sure.
That surprised me too. Wolfenstein was one of the very, very first games to introduce me to first-person shooters. When I was little, I used to play this one with my dad all the time. We tried to.
Wolfenstein introduced the world to first-person shooters.
Yeah, I mean it really wrote the book here, right? I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to forget Mecha Machine Gun Hitler. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It does, just some memorable things like that just doesn't get any better, and they got their own brand for it, and it just works. So awesome.
Yeah, this was fun though. This was, not to mention, this was a nice mix of what Wolfenstein used to be but where they're trying to take it now. It was a good homage to the old school, but at the same time, definitely taking things that needed to go in a new direction in that direction.
Right. And then, with that, those larger games too. The other big one that I was pointing at was Evil Within. Another series.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I wanted to look at more, but I just didn't have the time here this week.
Same. You know, I was never invested in the first game, either. But when I think Bethesda, of course, I'm in the mode of Skyrim and Morrowind and like that sort of deal, at least that sort of land. But there's a joke about Bethesda that I can't help but read sometimes about how everybody died except one janitor that keeps re-releasing Skyrim. So when I hear something new come out of them,
I did see some really good Skyrim jokes this week about how Skyrim's coming out everywhere, and it's like Skyrim now on rock.
Yeah,
and
it's
Skyrim now on this.
It's got this weird Madden like rehash vibe going to it now. I don't know, but no, another pretty big scale game, and hey, I think a studio that can definitely afford to support it if they can get their head out of Skyrim.
It's kind of funny because it sounds like we're kind of getting to the end of this conversation, but you have yet to hit one of the biggest elephants in the room, my number 3, and I'm a little surprised that you have, considering we've talked about Microsoft, we've talked about Sony, and we even dabbled a little bit in PC. You have not hit this yet, sir. I'm disappointed in you.
Floor is open for you.
All right. Well, did you have any other major areas you were going to go into?
Hit it.
You're going to feel a little silly that this never came up.
Hit it.
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
I don't feel silly at all. I hinted at that last show. Talked about that last show, man.
We did?
Yes.
All right.
Because they, in fact, Battlefront 2.
I didn't know we did a E3 show last week.
Oh, preview. We didn't talk a whole lot about it, but we did talk about the opening streams. And on part of EA stream, the Star Wars content was one of the biggest things they were pointing at, especially the new Battlefront.
This game looks awesome. In every way, I'm drooling. In every way. By the way, the only two things that beat this was Spider-Man and Shadow of the Colossus, and it was the only two things that should have.
Fair enough.
This looks so good. Oh.
Tell me this, were you taken back at all to Star Wars Galaxies or anything like that? Looking at the footage?
No. In fact, I brought up Knights of the Old Republic earlier. I respect what BioWare's done with those games. I haven't even played those. I don't play a lot of Star Wars games. I never really have. My brother, on the other hand, he plays a lot of them. I've watched him play a lot of Knights of the Old Republic.
Cool.
But I don't get into a lot of Star Wars games. I am getting this one. I was on the fence with the first one. I got off the fence when I heard that Battlefront did not have a story mode. I'm like, all right, well, I'm getting off this fence. I'm staying over here on this side. But this is not only is this have a story mode, it has an important story in Star Wars. That's something that happens right after Return of the Jedi. It is a part of canon. They've been talking about this a bit in the Aftermath books. We're going to get a really awesome perspective of this. It's how the Emperor put things in place in case he did die, how the Empire could continue on, and how they form into what they are now.
Wow. So what was it? It's called the. You should stone me for this. The Order of what was it? The.
What do you mean, the Knights of Ren? Because that's different.
Okay, this is different. That's what I was trying to get at.
This is at least as a public appearance, the First Order.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how much of this is going to actually get into, but the main character for the story is a general of the Empire. I might even be a different official title than general, but it is one of the top officials or someone who I think eventually becomes the leader of the Empire after the Emperor is killed, and they are fulfilling his requests if he were to perish, and what they do from there. I'm not going to spoil anything more than that.
Sweet. And I do want to underscore this. Yes, Battlefront 2 does deserve a big old stage.
You got it.
Yeah, it. The same group of people I game with who used to play like WoW, but they were really into Star Wars Galaxies. Also Knights of the Old Republic, some of the first ones that came out, and I have heard from them nonstop this past week about this game. So
it looks really good.
Good stuff.
It looks crazy good.
Especially because Star Wars isn't afraid of shirking away from lore building inside of games. Like, sometimes I think that's something scary when you have such a large, sprawling series to say, hey, are we going to elaborate on canon? Are we going to establish any new canon? Are we just going to have this sort of coexist unequally elsewhere? They're never awkward like that. It's just, Star Wars has always had a very smooth way of dispersing its story, and I appreciate that.
Definitely now since Disney's taken over too. It was a bit haphazard in the past. There would be games that would come out and Lucas would say, no, that's not canon. And then there would be games that came out and they were so good, like Knights of the Old Republic, where George Lucas would then say, yeah, that's canon now.
It's good enough. Good enough. Yeah.
Which is awesome if you're a developer and like you get that nod from George Lucas. Your shit was so good, it's part of Star Wars lore now.
Yeah.
Nowadays, Disney's on top of all of it.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Good deal.
They do a good job of it.
No, they do. They do.
So far.
Don't give them too much rope.
Yeah. Episode 7 was okay as far as the lore went. It was an enjoyable movie. I enjoyed it, but I could still see them fumbling big time.
Come December.
Yes.
We'll see more. But that's all I got.
Is that all you got? Let's see. Did we get everything else? Oh, yeah, Creation Club. That's garbage.
Yeah.
We didn't bring that up. We didn't bring it up.
For a reason.
We talked about bad conferences. We talked about the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
XXX.
XX.
We didn't talk about Creation Club. That's shit. It really is. That's
This was a push from our same team. Again, of course, worked on Fallout, worked on Skyrim. Hey, if you want to be able to access some additional content, some cool stuff to add on in the game, hey, buy this. Look, the whole paid DLC things, nickel and diming for every little play. I've got enough of that from Capcom and a few others. And while this isn't verbatim exactly some of those other models, I can't get into that. Yeah, I think this had a ridiculous amount of negative votes.
Not that I was expecting to get a whole lot of downloadable content playing Skyrim on Rock, but this is dumb. What do you do? Just put a different rock next to it?
Yeah, no, it's rock squared.
There you go. No, this is dumb. Look, if you have an open-ended game or games like these two, just leave them alone. What are you doing? At least don't squash other people's abilities to make these mods. All right, you want to have Premiere mods, and you want to sell them. Okay, fine, but they're kind of pigeonholing this stuff, and that I don't like. I have never played Skyrim. That and Fallout's a couple games where it's like, I'd probably love these if I really had the time, if I could sit down and really dig into them. And I just never have. I enjoy watching lots of videos of them. I enjoy watching videos of mods of these games. And the creativity that's allowed for that, you're squashing it. Why? Well, oh, no, never. I'm sorry, money. That's why. All right. That was a genuinely dumb thing. Because I really, that wasn't planned. No, yeah, for money. But you don't have to. You don't have to go that route.
No.
But they are.
Oh, well.
Because the only way this stuff is going to sell is if they can control the content that's going in and out of the game. So.
Right. Well,
I hate to leave it on a shitty note like that. Spider-Man, people!
Right?
Spider-Man! Channel the classes!
And for anybody, it's Star Wars. There's the Anthem. List goes on and on. There's plenty out there to look at. I think real quick, I think the only thing that we didn't see, there were a lot of people, myself included, expecting FF7 remake. The year's not over. It's still possible. We did get another Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer for some gameplay. Okay. I was looking way more for FF7, but oh well. Another E3 come and gone.
Did you get a breadcrumb, Ian?
I didn't even get a cookie crumb.
Did they throw you a little crummer?
The ones for Kingdom Hearts, I'm not even picking them up at this point. As far as I'm concerned, that game come out in 20 years and whatever. Have fun with that. But
Oh, we'll talk. Well, maybe someday in a few years we'll get to talk about this. That's been one of our times. Like, we're going to dedicate a whole show to Final Fantasy VII. Maybe. No, and I've always been, yeah, sure, it deserves it if we ever get to that point. Maybe someday.
good times.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
While Chris stays in judgment mode, hey, if anybody has a top 10, a top 5, whatever else, you got a favorite pick at E3, something that you really enjoyed, please, hey, drop us a line.
Where would you put this? 1 to 10, where would you put this E3?
About this E3, I'd rate it, and the fact that I'm coming out of it sort of neutral-ish, like kind of meh. 6.5, 7.
Okay, I'm sitting at a 6 too. It would be less than 5, but Shadow of the Colossus.
There's enough here to lift it beyond like the 50% or less zone. In my opinion, like it's fine with the you have enough. You're riding enough hype off of those, and considering some of the stuff that was previously announced, hey, I get it. Go back to the drawing board. Let's hit it. Let's get this stuff out in the books, review it, and hopefully reload for an awesome E3 2018. We'll see.
Yeah. Quit. Close this to the public again. They won't. They won't. It's gonna have to take several years. It's gonna have to completely oversaturate the convention again. But all right, whatever. No, yeah, I'm at a 6. Shadow of the Colossus was a huge surprise. I did that. No one knew about that, right? That was a genuine surprise.
That one was really under wraps. So
that was pretty great to see that. Spider-Man looked awesome. Star Wars looks awesome. Anthem looks awesome. Wolfenstein looked pretty good. Digital Devolver, wasn't it? Or Devolver Digital? That was stupid. A lot of the conferences were dumb. I went negative again.
There you go again. I'm gonna have to stop you before we keep doing that.
Creation Club was dumb, but some of these Xbox is too expensive. But some of these are great. The Shadow of the Colossus thing that's cool. I don't get that too much anymore. I usually keep in the know on when it comes to entertainment. That's obviously a lot of what the show is every week. To be genuinely surprised and to get me in the heart like that was awesome. It was like, oh my god.
Agreed.
That was great.
Agreed. So, all right. Well, we'll be tuning in. We'll be checking these out as they get released. We've still got a lot on the dock for 2017. But till next time, we will catch you later. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, as always, that's ksawmedia@gmail.com. Like, favorite, comment, or subscribe. Peace out, and you have a great weekend.